Hello everybody and welcome to another one of our short training videos. On this occasion we're going to talk about setting goals. Now Tony Robbins said, setting goals is the first step towards turning the invisible into the visible. Now I love a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, followed him for decades now. And what he's doing there is taking us to a whole different mindset and level of thinking where things that we can't see, we can make happen and see. But in this particular video, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on setting goals. Now, many of you will say, I set goals, I know what goal setting is all about. Fantastic. I say, that's terrific. But remember that what we're doing in these videos is basically saying it's not just about knowing what you do, it's about taking it to a whole different level. You see, that's what leadership is all about. Effective, successful leadership. It's about taking those things that maybe are very fundamental and taking them to a whole different level. So if you are also involved in goal setting, you know how to set goals, or you have your ideas and thoughts, please feel free to leave your comments and we can hear from you. Now, if you've been following us for a while, you know that I always ask you, if you like this video, please share it, please comment, and of course subscribe to this channel to continue to receive other videos. My name is Chris Igwe. I have over 35 years experience working in and across 5 different countries in Europe, Middle East and Africa, leading, growing and developing teams throughout my career. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you, specifically on this occasion, goal setting. Now let's go back to some of the fundamentals, and you may have heard this already, but it's always good to remind ourselves. When we set goals, people often talk to us about what are called SMART goals, or goals established in a framework of SMART. S-M-A-R-T. So the first thing is your goal has to be specific. There's no point having it wander all over the place. It has to be clear, directional, absolutely convincing in terms of what you want to achieve. So what is that specific goal? What is the specificity around that goal? The goal itself needs to be measurable. If you want to set a deadline or a time frame or an investment level or cost level within which that goal is going to be established, it has to be measurable. At the end of the day, you need to know how it performed against what you originally established. It has to be attainable. Now, I personally have a bit of an issue with attainable, because if you go back to what Tony Robbins said, and many others, it's about taking you to a whole different level of thought. So attainable is something that maybe we can review and debate in another session, but it has to be attainable. Attainable anyway, in the sense that in the short term, you are able to say, yes, that is what I want to achieve, and this is how I'm going to do it through the specific process. It has to be relevant. Relevant in the sense of what is it in terms of your company, your business, your team, how is it relevant to them? How is it relevant to the business that you are growing or establishing or developing? And it has to be time-bound. And time-bound, which is really important anyway, means that you've got to say, within this time frame is what I want to achieve. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it'll just go on and on and on. And you may say, well, if it runs for too long, it's not measured, it's not attainable, and it hasn't been specific enough. So those are all some of the fundamentals, if you like, of goal setting. And like I say, I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. But I want to take you to another mode of thought. I want to develop something else very quickly with you. And what I want to share is this. You see, in the goal setting process, there are things that need to happen. There are things that are part of the process that you need to embrace. And here they are, just 3 very quick ones. The first is absolute belief. You see, if you don't believe in your goal, how can you expect to get there? How can you expect to motivate others to get there as well? So the belief comes from the inside. It's inside you. It's something that nobody else is going to take away, because that is you. That is your commitment to that goal. You want to have that absolute belief, not only in yourself, but in your ability to drive it forward with your character, your charisma, your leadership, in order for it to happen. So you've got to believe absolutely in the goal that is being set. You then have to make sure you write it down. A lot of people say to me, I don't write goals down. It's all up here, I know it. But let's think about it. If you're running a business, or you are running a department or a team, how can you expect them to engage with the goal if you don't write it down and you don't share it? If you don't share it, nobody's working towards that same objective, or somebody may have their different interpretation. You know, we've had that when we used to play the game as kids. You tell somebody something around a table and see how far that message got to the other person and how accurately it arrived. It's the same thing. The goal has to be written down so everybody is on the same page with regard to that goal and that objective. And then this is one which often gets forgotten: accountability. Accountability is really important because you want to be able to be held accountable, even if you are the CEO, the chairman, the entrepreneur. It's your business. But somehow there's got to be a way in which there's checks and balances. It could be a friend, it could be a peer, it could be somebody else in your team that you trust, it could even be your PA that does that for you. But you've got to be able to be accountable not only for the process to happen successfully, but for the results to be as you expected as well. So setting goals has principles which are around SMART, which we've talked about, which I've shared. Goals have to be something that come from within you, so you have absolute belief, you write it down, and you hold yourself accountable, not just for that, but for others towards you as well. A very short story. You may have heard, or you may not know, or if not, I'll remind you of the famous moon speech. This was a speech that was given by John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States, when on the 12th of September 1962, he gave this speech where he basically said, "It is our intention to send a man to the moon and to bring him back safely within this decade." Now, part of the reason for that is that there was a space race taking place between the Soviet Union, as it was then, and the United States, and the Apollo space program had not been going as well as imagined, and indeed was faltering. So it was a presidential boost, if you like. But he gave this goal, which he set, within this decade, a man to the moon and bring that man safely back. And I think that last part about bringing the man safely back was equally important to the whole process. You don't want to just send them up, you want to bring them back safely. Now that goal was achieved in July 20th, 1969. So within the decade it was done. Now bear in mind, he'd been told by his advisors, it is just impossible, it can't be done. There's so much to be done. Like I said, the program was faltering. But he had absolute belief. He gave them passion, he gave them creativity, he gave them energy. And that's what you want to do through the goal that you set. Now there are some who might say, and I have heard, that was more of a vision than it was a goal. We can debate that and discuss that at another time. But the point is, it was an objective that was set. It was something he saw, something that nobody else necessarily saw, but he did. And that's what you do as a leader. You bring people along, you drive them towards this vision, this, as Tony Robbins said, this invisible thing, and you make it visible, and everybody else can see it. So you should always think about it in different ways. What is the goal? How big is it? Because if you're not stretching yourself, then your goal isn't big enough. And to kind of close, Ted Turner, who was from CNN, or created CNN, the cable network television, and he said you should always set goals beyond your reach. Beyond your reach, so that you have something to live for. If it's something you can manage within your perimeter, then how big of a goal is it? How much of a leadership statement are you making? And we know what CNN went on to become, or has become today. So, leaving you with that thought, There's fundamental principles around goal setting. Then you want to take it to another level because you want to develop it. And then you want to make sure that A, you can see how it all fits together and how you're driving your team forward. So if you have got anything out of this video, then please like, share, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel, and look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thank you.